Why Game of Thrones will never end. I know what you guys are thinking. Yeah, it will never end because HBO will milk it. But no, I mean that the actual universe will never end, as the story is very likely to be a closed loop event. What do I mean by that? Well, let's focus on Bran the Future Past Seer, or as others might like to call it, Bran the Time Lord. Bran starts off in the story as a young boy who likes to climb and gets pushed out of the window at the very beginning of the series, causing him to become permanently disabled from the waist down. After a series of events, Bran ends up north of the Wall and meets the three-eyed raven who tells him that he will become him and learn everything. Now I want to take a second and talk about Bloodraven a bit more. In the story, Bloodraven was a bastard who was part Targaryen and eventually managed to become Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. But when he traveled beyond the Wall some years ago, he was never heard from again. It is also stated in the books by Bloodraven that there have always been Targaryens who dreamed of things to come, since long before the conquest. This attests to his Greenseer abilities that he and Bran both have, which also suggests that both the Starks and the Targaryens have incredible abilities that run through their bloodlines. I would like to take a pause here and think for just a second. Brendan Rivers was a bastard who eventually became Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. If I remember correctly, Jon Snow was a bastard who became Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Now, I'm not saying that these two are the same person, but that they might have more in common than we are led to believe. However, I don't have a strong enough theory on this to say that Jon Snow would become the next Bloodraven who will meet the next Bran and teach him everything, as he, Jon, is also likely part Targaryen and can Greenseer just like him. But let me know what you guys think about that below. I'll probably make a future video discussing that further. Aside from that Jon Snow slash Bloodraven theory, Bran does end up learning everything in a very short amount of time while their cave is being invaded by the White Walkers, who end up killing what is believed to be the last children, while also killing Bloodraven, Summer, the Direwolf, and Hodor. After this, it is likely that Bran will end up south of the Wall, which will inevitably cause the Wall to fall, whether it be through magic wearing off or the White Walkers somehow managing to destroy it. There will be a war against the White Walkers, and the people of Westeros will have to fight them off using weapons made from dragonglass or Valyrian steel. Of course, there is the expectation that Azor Ahai will be reincarnated and eventually come out on top of the White Walkers. We all believe Jon Snow is Azor Ahai, and rightfully so, as he is the offspring of arguably the two most important houses in the series, Stark and Targaryen. Thank you, Rhaegar. Not to mention that in Norse mythology, the occurrence of Ragnarok has the appearance of a giant with a flaming sword, which, quote-unquote, ends the world. But the Norse mythology story is cyclical as well, as the world is always reborn and yet it always ends the same way, which leads me to believe that the story of Ice and Fire will be very similar. However, we also know that George R. R. Martin likes to throw curveballs at us, and this might be one of them. What if Bran is Azor Ahai? After all, he was figuratively born again with him learning how to use his Greenseer abilities amidst salt and smoke, or more literally, blood and smoke, as Brendan Rivers was known for wearing the colors of blood and smoke, and blood has salt in it. Of course, that is a stretch, and it is much easier to believe a descendant from both the great houses will be Azor Ahai. After this war, however, I do not believe the White Walkers or the people of Westeros will be completely wiped out. In fact, I believe there will be a truce, but if the White Walkers are still roaming around in the land of always winter, then there will need to be another wall built for obvious safety measures. And if all the children are dead, how does the wall get a magic barrier? A few things can happen here. Maybe the children weren't completely wiped out, or if they were, maybe even the children will somehow be born again, or maybe created again, and will be able to use their magic on the new wall that is built. Of course, who then builds the wall? Why, Bran the Builder, of course. And who shares Bran the Builder's name? Bran Stark. He obviously won't be building the wall by himself with blocks of ice, but it is likely that he will have help from the giants like One and the mammoths. And let's not forget that Bloodraven said Bran will fly. That might not only mean that he rides a dragon, but maybe him flying is what makes it possible for him to oversee the construction of the wall while it is being built. So maybe Bran doesn't end up in a tree because he isn't exactly like Bloodraven. In fact, I believe Bran will exit out of the closed loop, as it is usually possible to do so once one acquires a certain amount of knowledge in most looped events. But because Bran touched the tree without the guidance of Bloodraven, the children, Hodor, Summer, and Bloodraven were killed, and if you notice in the episode, even though Bloodraven seems to always know what will happen, he seemed oddly surprised when he found out that Bran had touched the tree while he was asleep. Bran's curiosity caused by his lack of knowledge on the matter might actually be what keeps him inside of the loop. Because if you remember, Bloodraven was certain that Bran wouldn't end up like him. But what if this unexpected event, or an event similar to this, is what always happens in the loop? What if there's always that one thing that the Greenseer cannot foresee, and thus causes the constant destruction and recreation of the world? This would also help to explain why nobody seems to really know who Azor Ahai or Bran the Builder really was, as they wouldn't know because the world had previously ended with them and thus nobody was actually there to record it. Along with the White Walkers and the Night's King being destroyed in the process, which leads to the Children of the Forest in the next cycle not knowing that their creations led to the downfall of the world. What if Bloodraven telling Bran that he cannot change the past also means that he cannot change the future? It's very hard to believe all of this, and of course, nothing is really set in stone. But there's so much mystery behind what the story will actually become at the end/beginning, and the only way we will find out is to wait and see. Thank you all for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe if you wish to see more. I'll see you all in the next one.